Howdy, howdy, all. How's everybody doing? A little grease lightning going
Recording
there, sounded like.
stopped.
uh,
Recording in progress.
Hope everybody had a good weekend. Um, so it's kind of interesting. Notice gold's been pretty wild lately. It's up $50, it's down $50, it's up $50, it's down $50. Thing came over the weekend that gold supplies in the London exchange were at extreme lows. So looks like they had a nice little rally off of that little news. But I think we're kind of right back to where we were like on Thursday of last week. So they kind of erased what they did Friday. I'll just put it that way. But anyway, I think even if you look at silver's actually making some newer highs, snapped up quicker than gold did. We're up above 33 right now at 33.43. Probably next target's right around the 34 quarter area on it, especially if we can see gold get back above like 29.70. If you can do that, we'll definitely get a new little push up. So, but I think that's the big thing is right now. I think overall, I mean, gold's going to probably continue to move up and up and up and away. And it's just gonna nothing goes straight up, nothing goes straight down. So it just takes a little while to get there. But outside of that, probably heard that Trump is chatting with Putin and stuff like that. I think they pretty much agreed to agree in the future and meet again in the future and all that good stuff. So it really hadn't done a whole lot to the energy markets. Once they get something going as far as nailing down what's going to happen and all that stuff, we'll probably see crude oil move a whole lot more. Right now, there's a lot of sanctions on Putin. So if they can start exporting their oil again and everything like that, we'll probably see crude oil kind of pull back a little bit with that supply. Even Saudi Arabia has kind of cut their production somewhat, and that's kind of what's held crude oil up. It's just kind of stuck right now. If you just want to look at a bigger range, you're really kind of stuck between about $78 down to $68. But right now we're between 70 and 75, and it's just kind of zigzagging through there. So until they can figure out something there, then who knows what's going to happen. We got the Fed minutes coming out this week, and I'm kind of interested to see who in the group, based off the Fed minutes, is actually um, thinking inflation is going to get a whole lot worse. I mean, they've been cutting rates, which I think was ridiculous to start with, but they left rates alone. But I think they're thinking that, hey, inflation is just not a temporary thing; it's kind of stuck in here. And if you look at the CPI and the PPI numbers that we had last week, there it is. I mean, it kind of showed its head there that inflation's still around, and we're going to have to kind of try to fight it off. Now, do they go back to just raising rates again? I don't know, but we'll kind of watch and find out on that one. Now, we actually had the jobs reports and stuff like that come out, and um, you know, just looking at the future one coming out. Well, I'll put it that way. Be interesting to see what the government payrolls are doing. I mean, they giving everybody these um, I don't know what you want to call them, furloughs or delayed or whatever it is, out to September with full pay and benefits so they can find another job. But only 75,000 people have taken that. And if you look at how many jobs the government created up until January of this year, it's been somewhere around 750,000. Now, granted, some of those they probably needed, don't get me wrong, but they were hiring 40,000 people a month for a while. And for what, I have no idea. And I don't think anybody else does either. I mean, they're just putting people on payroll. Now they're kind of going through and laying all those off. The big question is that go on to the jobless claims numbers, and do they spike up? So more people are quote unquote unemployed and on unemployment benefits, or do they actually just leave and find another job, and that's the end of that? So, but I don't know how fast they'll find another job. I mean, we just heard what was it, Southwest Airlines just laid off like 20,000 people or something like that. So, I mean, I think right now we're going to be seeing some job numbers that's going to be really weird, just with people getting, fired, laid off, whatever from the government, and other companies around kind of starting to downsize a little bit. And I think we're going to see some interesting job numbers, which is going to move the markets around a little bit. We've got the S&P Global Manufacturing Index coming out Friday, right at, what was it, 9:45 in the morning, 15 minutes after the open. So that's going to kind of be the bigger news outside of the Fed thing. We got some housing numbers and stuff, housing starts and stuff like that, building permits, which isn't a really a big thing, but people do like to see how the housing market is doing. I think the big thing right now, if you're looking on the short side of things, your Northrop Grumman's, NOC, Lockheed Martin's, your Raytheon's. I think those guys are going to be probably hurt the worst here in the short term, just because if they do start pulling out of Ukraine and they get everything settled over there with Gaza, those guys are going to kind of be hurt a little bit. And I think you've already seen that when you look at Northrop Grumman here. Here's Northrop Grumman's chart. This is a daily chart. You can kind of see they've just been getting kind of pounded here a little bit. They've gone from 508 down to 442. And so if you look at where they opened the year at 470, they're well below the 470 level. So they're kind of trying to hold it in here. Kind of see last week they're trying to hold above that year open, and finally on Friday they just busted it, and they can continued on down today. So I think these guys are going to probably be your weaker ones, coming into the next several weeks, even maybe a couple of months, as they start unwinding these quote unquote wars that we're kind of messing with and everything like that. So kind of keep your eyes on those. They might start really weakening up. But on the other side of that, Trump's been saying he wants to rebuild our military and rebuild our stockpiles. So it wouldn't be surprising if that doesn't start, flooring out a little bit as they start redoing that, and they might start perking back up again. But right now, there's not going to be a huge demand on what they have. And so that's going to probably hurt them in the shorter term, maybe just for this one quarter. And then, of course, then it starts to pick up from there. On another front, if you kind of look at seasonalities, we're in the middle of February here. And if you look historically, and I'm look at a huge picture here, going back, 20, 30 years, 40 years, whatever it is, we should see crude oil, gasoline, heating oil, stuff like that, kind of start perking up a little bit, starting about the middle of February to the middle of March. In that little zone right there is usually when they kind of bottom out and they start rallying a little bit. And then they'll have a nice little rally going up into about June, July. That's historically what it does. And the reason for that is we have, kind of two drivers behind it. And one is once we get past this nasty winter that we've had here, which we've seen a huge move up in natural gas just because of it. They'll start switching from the winter gases over to the summer gases. When they do that, they kind of shut things down. And as they shut things down at the refineries, to change over on the gasoline side of things, they'll also probably spend a week or so doing some maintenance. So even though we kind of have a dwindled supply of gasoline anyway, now you shut things down, and all of a sudden we have a shorter supply, and all of a sudden we'll start probably seeing those things move up. And then once they get everything up and rocking and rolling, going into the end of March, beginning into April, all of a sudden, well, we got spring break. And so that's going to put a lot of demand on gasoline. There's no kids run down to the beaches or wherever. And then right after that, school gets out. We got the summer driving season coming up. So all of a sudden, all of that kind of gets poured into a couple of 3 months, and that's why we usually will see a spurt up in crude. So it wouldn't surprise me if we don't see crude back up to 78 and a half to $80 over the next month or two. Now that can be ruined by Trump's three little words: drill, baby, drill, right? So, but it all depends on if the oil guys will agree with that or not. And right now they're having some resistance on it. They don't want to drill, baby, drill. But it's not to say that they won't help out some. So I think that's the the bigger pictures I'm kind of looking at right now as far as the week is concerned. Um, S&P down, Nasdaq are down a little bit today. Not a whole lot, but they're just kind of chewing and chopping around, which they have been for the past, ever since the election. They haven't really found a real true direction. They'll rally up, they'll sell back off, and they rally up and they sell back off. And right now, if you kind of look at the hedge funds are kind of loading up on the short side, and on the retail side, people are still out there buying stocks and stuff. And usually, when there's that divergence in between the buying and the shorting, usually the big money wins. So I don't know if we're going to be seeing the market kind of roll over here a little bit and start kind of pulling back down. But you have to remember, we opened up the year down at 59.49. Here we are at 61.25. So we've got almost 200 points in the S&P to try to die off before we can get back to the year open. So it's been kind of a good, strong up move, yet we're not making new all-time highs. So, but they have been trying to move back up. And right now, I think everybody's still in watch and wait mode just to see what this administration does. And once they start, I mean, all he's done is done executive orders on everything, right? And half of those things are in the courts right now. So what sticks and what doesn't stick, I guess, is the biggest thing. But what's Congress going to do about changing things or passing things or whatever it is, which then affects us on a big way. So that's what I think everybody's kind of waiting for now is, are all the companies going to be helped by this administration? Do they get to do better? But do they have to lean up to do it? I mean, that's the question. So do we, like I said, going back to the jobs numbers, do we start getting bad jobs numbers or weakening job numbers? And that's what you're going to be seeing there. So, and in an economy that's already high on inflation and stuff like that, it's just, I don't know, it's going to be a real touch and go kind of thing on how they try to weave in and out. I mean, he's already said, hey, things are going to be kind of sorry in the front end of this, but things are going to improve in the longer term. And just kind of looking at the picture that we have right now, I can see why they say that, because things can get bad in the short term, but we'll probably end up doing better in the long term. And the market probably needs a breather. The market probably could use a little bit of a 10% correction or whatever it is. Have the S&P drop back 4, 5, 600 points, and then grab its breath and turn back around and kind of go again. And it just needs to have a little pullback and rock and roll again. We've had some pullbacks, but they've always been met by huge rallies just right after that. And I don't know how long the market can kind of hang up here, but if things start improving a whole lot better, inflation comes down, people are working, people are making more money, so on and so forth, you'll see this market just take off and rock and roll and run. So, but I think there's still upside pressure in the gold market and the silver market just because of short supplies, and because of the spending. I know they're trying to cut stuff the best they can through whatever that thing, Doge or whatever it is. But I mean, we still have a $36 trillion debt. So what's a few billion here and there based off of 36 trillion. So we'll kind of see how that pans out and kind of go from there. But for the most part, I'd like to see what they do with the Fed minutes and see what the jobless claims numbers are like on Thursday. And then we'll kind of have a little bit, better picture. We also get the EIA petroleum status report coming out tomorrow as well. Actually, that'll come out on Thursday also. We had a holiday yesterday, and my brain was just sitting there thinking. So, but that'll come out on Thursday also. They'll put that out, I think, at 11 a.m. Eastern. So, but they always move it over to Thursday when we have a Monday holiday. So, but usually it comes out on Wednesdays. But anyway, I think that's what we kind of look for going into the week here. We still got a ton of earnings. We got Nvidia coming out. Was that tomorrow, or is that next week? That's next week. Okay. But we'll kind of see what those do, and we'll see how retailers should be coming out here before long. The Home Depots and the Lowe's and the Walmarts and the Kohl's and the Dillard's and all those things. Kind of see how the retailers have done over that last quarter, and then that'll pretty much round out the huge earnings stuff over the next couple of weeks, and then we just kind of get into the latecomers, and then before long, I mean, think about it, we're in the middle of February here. It's 6 weeks till we get to the end of March. We start earnings season all over again. So time flies when you're having fun, right? So, but that's about all I have for this week, unless you have any questions or anything like that. And or I say this week for today. We'll be back on Thursday at 11. I hope I got that right. But Thursday at 11, and we'll see what the numbers have done, what we're going to be looking at going into Friday and going into really next week, and kind of go from there. So, but with that, you all have a great and wonderful day. Unless you have, like I said, if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, we'll wrap things up and call it good.